Welcome, everybody. We're going to let folks have a minute or two to enter our Zoom room. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Will Torres. We'll do some more introductions later on. But as you settle into our space, welcome. Even though it might sound strange, like you're here to hear about the GSB, we're really going to be talking about you. You are the center of all of this. And I know it might sound a little strange and it might feel a little unnatural, for a lot of folks out there, whether it is your personality, maybe it's the way that you were raised, maybe the community or cultures that you come from, being in the center of attention feels a little uncomfortable. I see you, I recognize that, and I feel you. I also invite you to take this time to step back, check in with yourself, and think of this as Emily said, an investment in the ability of yourself over the next few years to be able to provide for you as well as those around you. Here at Stanford, we really believe it all begins with you. When you come to Stanford, you're going to be joining a community where change happens, right? So maybe it's an idea you have in one of your classes that goes on and changes the way that we interact with each other. That's happened with DoorDash or Embrace. Embrace is a low-cost, low-tech incubator for premature babies that has been shaping the lives of people worldwide. Maybe it's something bigger and you want to tackle the way that we engage with poverty or education, social justice. We have alumni doing that work with African Leadership Academy, or even impacting everyday lives through microloans with Kiva. Change lives, change organizations, change the world. That's our motto. And even though changing the world might seem like a big ask, never underestimate the power of that ripple effect when you see the world from new perspectives or have the creative confidence to try something new, maybe try something different and see it out till the end. And never underestimate the simple power of engaging with people with a new appreciation for who they are and where they came from. Big changes stem from small actions, and that's what we're here to help you with. Now, let's bring this back to today. Um, Hopefully, on this journey, you're asking yourself three questions. So, what is it that you really want to do? So, if there's no preconceived notions, no fear of failure, no what should you do, what is it that you want to do? Next, given that, now that you have that vision, will a management degree from Stanford help you get there? And this is that question that I get all the time. Hey, Will, why should I go to Stanford? My response is it's always kind of tough because for everybody out there, the answers are going to be a little bit different. But it's also an easy response because I'll ask you these two questions. What do you want to do? And from there, we can work together to figure out what it is that we can provide to help you get there. And then, third question, can I get in? Sneak preview, the answer is yes. And we'll definitely talk about that a little bit later on. But let's come back to that journey. Whether you are thinking about something near term, long term, there's no right or wrong way to get there. On a map, it's easy to draw a straight line from point A to point B. But in real life, there are going to be pivots, there are going to be inflection points, there might be a U turn, a second U turn. Maybe there's more than a few U turns in there, and that's okay. This is about creating the tools so that you can thrive regardless of what setting you're in, anywhere in the world that you find yourself. This is what we're here to do. We're here to help support you in that process. So, how do we do that? We see that happening across 5 different realms. So, expanding the way that you think about possibility and opportunity, thinking along those new frontiers, and also developing that creative confidence to go do something with it. Those ideas have power. From there, think about your community in different ways. And that's what a lot of this week is going to be about. Check out our community. We're here to share, we're here to engage and create a space where hopefully you'll see the way that we'll be able to work towards a future together. As we're working towards that future, thinking about your own leadership skills. What are your strengths? Where are areas for you to improve? And what does that mean for the career ahead of you? And as you embark on that career, defining your future, the path that you take regardless of where that takes you. And so, knowing us, we're going to go into things in a little bit more detail. And first, let's talk about that mindset. So, at the GSB, you're going to be engaging with one of the most amazing groups of people that you can think about. So, you saw with Emily and Carrie and Dean Levin, just the way that they were interacting with each other. You're going to be joining a class of people who are inspired and want to learn and share and grow with each other. This discovery of new ideas and perspectives happens definitely on our GSB home campus, but all across Stanford University. I definitely encourage you to go out, check out classes from across campus. About 80% of our students will take at least one class somewhere else. And as you explore some of these new paths, you might even be able to pick up a dual or joint degree program along the way. As you're exploring these paths, definitely, maybe check out that class you've always been thinking about. Whether you've had a STEM background, there are going to be speaker series on policy at the Hoover Institute. This is a way for you to really explore some of the new dimensions that are going to expand the way that you think about the world around you. And that's what Stanford's about. Let's go beyond the traditional boundaries of academics or industry or department and bring these minds together so you can pick apart the issues and problems and needs for today and figure out how to address them. As you have those ideas, again, I talk a lot about creative confidence. Let's have the confidence to think about something new, try it. And whether it succeeds or not, there's always something to learn along the way. I know there's a lot of pressure to have already that it idea that I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. But on the cornerstone of campus is inscribed this: dedicated to the things that haven't happened yet and the people who are about to dream them up. This is about creating ideas and creating knowledge and motivation and inspiration. So in the classroom, you're going to be unpacking over 300 cases by the time you graduate. You can learn from the experiences of others. But for different lessons, there's also going to be different teaching methodologies. And that's kind of what makes this such a dynamic place. You can have experiential moments where you're going to be taking the lead. Maybe it's scenarios or role plays, trying to figure out, maybe it's in the class, managing growing enterprises. How do you fire or hire or talk to your board about different directions that you want to take the company? All of these are real experiences that you're likely going to have. So let's figure out the pathways that might feel the most natural and powerful for you. Maybe you're taking one of our action learning courses and working on real world problems with some of our partners in the Bay Area. All of these innovative methods are to get you to, yes, learn from the experiences of those before you, but also how do you think and lead in real time? It's not just learning about protagonists, but it's about how can you be the next protagonist? Guiding you along this learning and experiential journey are going to be some of our world-renowned faculty members. Special shout outs to the two of our faculty members who just won Nobel Prizes economics. This is an environment where we want to challenge the way that we see and understand the world around us. A second special shout out to all of our faculty members who have been working diligently to advance issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus. You're going to have the opportunity to meet some of them this week through our Faculty Insight series. Or maybe you've already gotten to know some of them. Maybe it's Brian Lowry with Society and Power classes, Race in America. But that's this evening, and that's been every Monday. And that's also accessible as a podcast, so definitely check that out. One of those other questions that I get pretty frequently is a hesitation of, why should I go to business school? I feel like I'm stepping away from industry. I don't want to get left behind. But I actually think about it the other way. So you're going to be in this unprecedented space where you're actually going to be able to get to the heart and future of industry in a whole new way. Especially when you get to your electives, many of them are co-taught by one of our faculty members, as well as an expert practitioner. And so these are the folks who are often creating the spaces like impact investing that really define the world as we see it. One of my favorite examples, and I'm a little biased here, is taking a class on strategic pivots from A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez, professional baseball player turned businessman turned philanthropist, thinking about the different ways that his career has moved and what could that mean for you in your own journey. And it was also a kind of extra special, the J-Lo sightings on campus, but that's a story for another day. Stanford really is a special place in the way it brings people together. We're in the heart of the Silicon Valley. That spirit of innovation really runs through our veins. So whether it's on campus, across campus, the access to things like maybe you're interested in biotech. This is a research hub of the world. Maybe you're interested in VC and venture, like world of venture capital. Sand Hill Road borders campus. This is a gateway to all of the different things that you might want to engage in, both here and as you go on into the world kind of writ large. And then community. Stanford is special. I've been in a lot of spaces, and Stanford is special in the way it brings together from so many different backgrounds around this idea of positive change. And so as we dig into that, part of it comes from being you. When you come to Stanford, we want you to feel comfortable exploring the different things that create your perspective. As a leader, tapping into those experiences of who and where you come from often create some of the values that are going to be the most powerful things that lead your organization. So whether it is through a program like Talk, where one of your classmates shares their background, their hopes and aspirations. I was invited to one of these standing room only. This was after classes were over and people turned out. This is about showing up for your classmates, your friends, and the people of your everyday. And whether it is in person or a virtual one, I've been into a couple of those as well. That energy is the same. How do we learn and grow and share, kind of using that strength and power of vulnerability? Collaboration is often like kind of a buzzword, but for us, it comes to life in that spirit of support. How do you help each other through classes, whether it is in your finance class or personal branding? When one boat rises, all boats rise. And it's in everybody's best interest for that equal and open sharing of information, knowledge. And as we like to say, feedback is a gift. Open, honest, and candid feedback is one of the best ways that we can encourage each other to grow. We have a policy of grade non-disclosure, so it's not that you don't have grades, but we're not posting class ranks or GPA lists. So we really want you to be able to help each other be the best use possible. And as you think about the community, we're an incoming class of about 420 students. So you're going to get to know each other at this whole new depth. But that also means something special for the way you're going to be able to interact with your alumni, the faculty members, and the industry experts that come to campus every day, whether it's in person or on Zoom. And so as those folks are helping guide you through this process, teaching you in classes, having one-on-one coffee chats, maybe it's a little bit of Zoom mentoring going on, this is a way for you to really unpack that question that Carrie mentioned earlier. Why should someone follow you? We already start engaging in some of this programming your very first term on campus with leadership labs, where you're going to be working on a number of different role plays, scenarios with your Stanford squad. And this culminates in the executive challenge, where about 150 or so of our senior level alumni come back to campus, and they're going to be your board. And you'll go through a number of different simulations throughout the day to really flex those managerial muscles that you've been exercising that whole term. Interpersonal Dynamics is one of our most talked about electives. And this is really about how do you show up in a space? What does that mean for your influence? Do things like the words you use, your body language, does that have an unintended impact on the people around you? What does that mean when you're trying to communicate with someone very different from yourself? Or when you're trying to motivate a team to some greater purpose or goal? These are all skills and things that you want to be able to develop so that you can have that internal dialogue so that wherever you are, whatever circumstance you're going to be in, you can adapt to be the most effective leader that you can be. We are also committed to principled leadership. We have this obligation to lead ethically. And this is an obligation not just to ourselves and our values, but to society as a whole. On this journey, and again, we use this word journey a lot, but as you go and grow and learn and meet new folks along the way, you also have the opportunity to define the road that you're going to be taking. And so it's about creating a career of impact and a life of meaning, being able to fold the things that you love into the things that you do in your everyday. And in these small actions, as they build up and create and manifest into great changes, what does that mean for the organizations that you belong to? And as society interacts and moves and evolves, what is the role that you are going to play in defining what the communities of tomorrow look like? So, what does your future hold? And so, whether you're thinking about starting a company, maybe you want to start a movement, maybe you just want to change the different ways that you approach problems, tackle questions, or talk to the people around you. There are some amazing things that you have ahead of you. This is not a placement program. And so while our alumni definitely enjoy great career outcomes once they graduate, this is about a time for you, these 2 years, to define the road that you want to take, the roles and things that you care about so that you can pursue those for the rest of your life. Maybe you're using on-campus recruiting and you go that route. Maybe you're working on a self-directed program in partnership with our career management center. Maybe it's evolving organically through the interactions you're having with our alumni. These are all pathways to the future, all pathways that can lead you to success. So, where is this going to take you? Where are you going to end up? Hopefully, you're going to end up wherever is going to make you happy. And the tools that you develop at Stanford is going to make it so that you are going to thrive, regardless of where that might be. So, just to recap, 5 ways that we want to center back on you so that you can start this journey of change. Expand your mindset, think boldly, build your community, lead from the heart, and in doing so, have the power to be that change maker, both for yourself and the people around you that you love. Okay. So talk about these steps. And this image might not necessarily be what you think it is. It's not a tombstone. To my knowledge, Phil Knight is alive. He's doing well. So rest assured, we're all good there. But all over campus are multiple places of art. And this is actually inscribed on the ground so that as you're walking onto campus, you're reminded. This is a quote, Phil Knight, founder of Nike. There comes a time in every life when the past recedes and the future opens. It's that moment when you turn to face the unknown. Some will turn back to what they already know. Some will walk straight ahead into uncertainty. I can't tell you which one is right, but I can tell you which one is more fun. Let's find out where those next steps are going to take you. Let's enjoy this process. And hopefully those next steps will take you to Stanford and we can be on this journey together. But if not, I know you're going to have some amazing outcomes and a beautiful future ahead. So let's let these words sit in for a moment. We're going to switch gears. We are going to talk a little bit about admissions. So definitely a little bit of a shift in mindset here. But this next section, we're going to talk about what we look for, where we find it, and then some of the support systems to help you get here, more specifically financial aid. So we practice a holistic review process. That means we are going to take a look at everything that you submit to get a sense of who you are. Who are you going to show up as in the classroom and in our community? We're looking at things across 3 broad buckets. If you haven't done so already, I'd highly recommend you check out our MBA admissions website. Under admissions criteria, there's language about each one of these sections. There's some rhetorical questions to help you understand how intellectual vitality might come to life for you. And in the case of demonstrated leadership potential, we actually outline some of the many, many, many leadership competencies that you might be expressing in your everyday life. But while we're here together, let's talk about each one of these just briefly. So intellectual vitality. I think about this. It's definitely much more than GPA or test scores. Notice those are not the words here. It's intellectual vitality. I think about this as in your life, there are a lot of different people and you have a lot of different relationships out there, and that's great. What's your relationship with knowledge? What are the things that you get excited to learn about? How do you learn about it? And because of the type of place the GSP is, how do you share that knowledge with others? For demonstrated leadership potential, you can already break this up into 2 chunks. Demonstrated leadership and leadership potential. You don't have to have had a leadership role to have demonstrated leadership qualities. And leadership qualities can emerge in so many different places. Maybe it's in the classroom, maybe it's in the community. For sure, it might be the workplace, but it could also be at home, stepping up to lead or take over in a time of crisis with your family. Regardless of where these things show up, we honor, recognize, and empower you to do so. And then personal qualities and contributions. So I like to ask the question, who are you? Maybe there's elements of your background, your upbringing, the cultures and environments that you've moved through, your lived experience and the decisions that you've had to make that brought you to the here and now. How do those things shape your perspective? How do you share that perspective? And how does that motivate the things that you want to do next? We learn as much from each other as we do from the textbooks and cases that we study. And this is one of those things where, as you start to learn about yourself, it opens up a new lens for you to be able to learn, embrace, and engage with those around you. So where do we find it? So I mentioned earlier that we're taking a look at all of the different things that you submit. So here are 8 things laid out. So education, again, note, it does not say GPA specifically. That's part of it. But GPA is a single data point. There's so much more to your education. We're looking at your transcripts. What classes have you taken? How have you performed in those different classes? With testing, yes, we require either a GMAT or the GRE, but we don't have a preference for one or the other. There's no minimums, no benchmarks. There's no score cutoff where below that will toss you out or above that you're an automatic in. It really is a holistic understanding of the entire you. For activities and work history, you can think about that as both your resume and the part of the application where we're asking you to tell us a little bit more about that. It might feel a little redundant at first that, hey, I'm already submitting my resume. Why do I still have to fill out this work history part in the application? But if you look at the questions and the type of responses and information you can provide, those can be two very different and complementary spaces. This is a different way for us to learn about you. I think about this as the application is the story of who you are, and every good story is made up of details. Every blank space in our application or the resume is an opportunity to tell us a little bit of something about yourself to get us and help us to that place where we can understand you to the best degree possible. So letters of recommendation. So we require 2, and we recommend that one is from your direct supervisor, but we know that's not always possible. We never want to preclude you from a raise or bonus or a promotion. And sometimes you don't necessarily want to tell your manager that you might be thinking about leaving because that might be compromised. Or maybe you are part of a family business and there's a little bit of a conflict of interest if your mom or your dad is your boss. Or maybe you own a company yourself and you are the boss. Check out our MBA admissions website. There is a space there that has much more information than letters of recommendation. We ask 3 general questions of all of our recommenders. So how has this person performed relative to equally qualified peers? Tell us about a time where there was feedback. And then there's that third catch-all. Is there anything else we should know? Based on those questions, we really do trust you to choose whoever can write the most robust letter for you as possible. Essays. And so later on this week, this Wednesday, we're going to have 2 essay workshops, a morning and an encore afternoon session for those who might not be able to make that morning session because of either work or time zones. And we'll definitely unpack a lot more there. But this is an opportunity for us to learn more about you from your own words. There's no right or wrong answers, but really digging into the things that you hope to achieve, who you are, and what that means for your journey. There are also optional short questions. And so these are literally optional. If you are already telling us the same things and the takeaway is the same, don't have to do it. But if there's something new that you want us to know, these can be a great place to let us know that. And then interviews. So most of our interviews are going to be done by alumni, and they're all going to be done, they're behavioral based by invitation. And so the nice thing is you're already the expert in you. We're going to be asking you questions about things you've done, how you've done them. And then hopefully over the course of that time, you're also able to interact and ask questions of our alumni and really get to know each other and see the Stanford community the way we do. And so walking through that application process, you're admitted, congratulations, welcome. It's an investment, the same way that Emily mentioned, for more than one reason. And so financial aid is one of those things that we really care about and is really important to us in enabling students of all backgrounds to be able to attend the GSB. We are need blind when it comes to admissions. So that means we are not taking a look at how you're going to fund your time as part of the admissions process. But we're need-based for our financial aid. And so this means after admission, we reach out with instructions for how to apply. And so our financial aid process is geared around three things. So access, equity, and excellence. Again, we want folks from all backgrounds for Stanford to be a realistic option for them. We want to admit the best talent from wherever in the world it's coming from. And we want people to know what's going into the financial aid process so they can plan appropriately. Later on today, we are actually having a financial aid session with some of our financial aid officers, experts in the process. So definitely tune in if you want to learn more there. But at a high level, there are multiple ways that we support you. Last year, the average fellowship was about $40,000. Folks will bring in external scholarships. For US military veterans who are eligible, there's a Yellow Ribbon program who will cover tuition and mandatory fees. There's also the Knight Hennessy Scholars Program. It's a separate program that you can apply for that will cover up to 3 years of graduate study at Stanford. And this year, we're really excited to announce the launch of the Bold Fellows Fund. And so this is funding on top of the generous need-based financial aid, knowing that sometimes it's more than just your own individual need that you're considering. Maybe you are the primary breadwinner for your family, or you are going to be in the future. This is an opportunity to help make up some of that difference so that you can really take in that holistic view of need, and Stanford can be a realistic place for you to come, grow, and thrive. And so with that, think about this process again as a journey, getting ready for it. What are the things that you want to know? That's what we're here for all week long. Definitely check in with us. We have a Ask an Admission Officer session this Friday. So if you have questions about the process along the way, that's going to be an amazing place to check in with us. Talk to students, ask your questions, and really get a sense for how they've come to terms with their career paths, the things that they hope to achieve, and what they're doing here on campus. And so all starts with Stanford. It all starts with you. And take this moment to center your conversation on the things that you're interested. We're here to help. I'm going to stop share there, and we are going to transition over to the question and answers. So I'm going to open the Q&A box, and I'm going to be taking questions live. Our crew is going to continue answering questions in that box as well. So definitely go ahead and pop those questions there. So we have a question here from Andre. And so this might be a question on a lot of folks' minds. When can we expect to have classroom classes again? Will anything change in the way classes used to be? So very much on the classroom experience. And so we are in this lucky position. So right now, a lot of your classes are going to be Zoom, but for some of your smaller sessions, so think lead labs with your squad of 6, we're actually having small groups meet outdoors. So you're able to interact and have some of those like personal connections and opportunities to learn together. And so Stanford University is keeping an eye on both the local as well as university health best practices, because ultimately our priority is your health and safety. So we really hope that the situation will be that everybody can be back in class in person very soon. But until then, we're working together to make sure that we can find the best of both worlds. So they didn't mention this earlier, but Emily and Carrie were part of a autumn quarter task force that comprised of students, faculty, administration to really make sure that the experience for our students really maximizes those two things, health and safety, as well as the experience. All right. Here's a question from Adana. Financial Times indicates profile information for business schools, including how many students are offered internships at places where they are offered internships. Stanford's ranking seemed a little lower than one might have expected compared to other schools in the top 10. I read through the Financial Times methodology. Would you be so kind as to shed some light from Stanford's perspective on the reason why this might be? And so this is a question that might actually be in a lot of people's minds. I know that the rankings out there from different organizations can be a way for you to triangulate some of the different opportunities that you're thinking about. And what I would say is I'm going to come back to something that happened this year. And so it might not be speaking specifically to the methodologies being used by the different ranking systems, but this is about the experience and opportunities that are going to be here for you. And so Career Management Center will often work with folks to figure out what potential internships might be. If you're thinking about social entrepreneurship or kind of the social impact space, the Center for Social Innovation will often work with students as well to help think about opportunities there who are alumni that we might be able to connect with. And then never underestimate the power of both our alumni network and your classmate network. There have been so many instances where internships have arisen from like chance encounters and intentional, like, I know someone who, and connections based on interest. This year, as COVID kind of took the world by storm and we were adapting to that new normal, and many companies were really thinking about the resources that they were investing into internships. And so knowing how important this is for our students, Dean Levin actually put a call out to our alumni for any opportunities, both internships and full-time positions that would be available for our students. The return was kind of amazing in that there were more opportunities than our students could fill. And I think independent of any kind of ranking system or methodology, it's this network that really cares and is trying to find ways to make sure you're able to maximize your time at the GSB. I think that's where that value comes into play. So I kind of took a little bit of a U-turn and sidetrack there, but hopefully that that helps you get a sense for the community itself. And so here we go. Question here about interviews. And so for those who might not be in the US, so for our interviews, when they were in person, they would be with one of our alumni who is in your area. So Idugbo, I think you mentioned here, not in America, so it would be someone in your location. This year, they are being done virtually, which actually opens up a whole new world of potential alumni interviewers and community members for you to connect with. So no worries on that front at all. All right. Here's a great question from Eleanor about deferral. So the question is, does the admission process look any different for deferred enrollment? And when is a good round to submit the application for that? So we offer limited deferrals at the GSB, typically for folks who are still in either their final year of college, or maybe they've just gone through college and then straight into a grad program and then are applying to the GSB. The deferral program is so that you have some time to go into the workforce and then bring back that experience to campus. For everybody else, we definitely recommend for you to apply for the year you want to start. But for our deferrals, it's actually the exact same application and the exact same process. We are still looking for that same sense of intellectual vitality, demonstrated leadership potential, and personal qualities and contributions that we look for in all of our students. For our college students, so we do not have a work experience requirement. And so part of the holistic review process is taking a moment to understand your context. So the opportunities that you have available to you might look very different from someone who's been in the workforce for 2 to 3 years. And that's going to look very different than the opportunities that someone might have had if they've been working 5, 6, 7, or 12 years. So really thinking about how have you maximized the opportunities available to you. In terms of rounds, so round for direct enrollment, no real difference between round 1 and round 2. Round 3 can often seem a little bit more challenging because we have filled most of our seats in our class by then, but we always do admit folks in round 3. For our deferral students, since you are going to be in a class later in the future, that's not necessarily part of the same consideration process. So for many of you, round three might actually be a good idea. For college seniors, that gives you more time your senior year to do things. Oftentimes, this is a year when you might have some leadership potential or leadership roles or are doing some internships. So this gives you more time to kind of build up your experience set and maybe have experiences you want to talk about in an application. All right. Here's a question from Rashmi. How has the Global Experiences Program been adapted in light of the pandemic? So, great question here. I think this has been one of those spaces that we continue to evolve as we take best practices and as we monitor the travel policies, not just of the university, but also of the different countries that our folks might be going to. So last year, there's a program called the GMIX, the Graduate Management Immersion Experience. You can think about that almost as an internship somewhere in the world during the summer between your MBA 1 and MBA 2 year. So last year, many of them shifted to virtual, and hopefully we're going to be able to offer those again virtually this summer, not knowing what the exact travel possibilities are going to look like. I know our global studies department is working really, really hard to figure out different ways to incorporate those global perspectives into your education. And so actually one of those new programs this year is Global Dialogues, which brings together students from all different backgrounds, speakers from all over the world to talk about what does it mean to both create community and engage with others, regardless of what cultural or geographic setting you're in. How do you step back, have some of the internal dialogue that allows you to unpack both, the individual, group, and environment factors that might influence the way that you need to carry yourself to be effective. So multiple ways there, more space for evolution, and it's definitely something that the school is keeping an eye on because that global experience and global perspective is a really important part of kind of your development journey. All right. Question here from Pooja. Earlier we heard, so I talked about different teaching methods. This year, a lot of classes are online where simulation and action leadership classes affected. So yes and no. So there has been an evolution in some of the course offerings. Some of them have been shifted more online. As I mentioned earlier, some of them are meeting in small group sessions outdoors. We're lucky enough to be in California where the environment allows for us to have outdoor classes all the way into the fall and into the winter, really. So some of those courses are still being held in very much the same format or very similar formats to what they used to be. And actually, a very interesting silver lining to some of the classes being online because of this newfound fluency with Zoom. It opens up a whole new world of who is visiting as case protagonists, who's engaging with students, whether it is globally. This is a whole new range of diversity and perspectives that has opened up to us. So there have also been some really interesting silver linings to the experience along the way. All right, so we're getting close to the top of the hour. Right now, I really want to encourage you. So we might not have gotten to all of the questions in the Q&A box, but we have a whole week of exploration with diversity and leadership, many more sessions featuring admissions staff. So bring those questions there if they're not already answered, or if you don't find the answer by exploring our website, this is another time to come talk to us and be a part of the experience. Again, registration for events is open all week long, so maybe you're curious to hear a little bit more about the experience for active duty or military veterans. Or you're thinking about, hey, I'm curious about working in Latin America. Check out the session featuring some of our global interest clubs, including the Latin American Student Association, Texas Club, and the Midwest Club, really thinking about that vertical time zone slice, some of the different aspects that can really complement your experience here at the GSB. So with that, thank you so much for joining us for the kickoff. I hope to see you throughout this week. And regardless if you're starting the day or ending your day, thank you again for joining us. Stay safe, stay hydrated, find moments of support, solidarity, and gratitude. You too can go out there, change lives, change organizations, and change the world. We'll see you soon.